Frontline with Courtney Kenny, and I'm Tom Parisi, and today we got a great set of guests.
And we welcome you to another episode of the Frontline podcast. If you're wondering why you're hearing my voice, Courtney Kenny, and not Tom Parisi off the bat like you usually do, Tom's a bit busy this week. Oh, he will be back, of course, because where would I be without Tom? I can tell you right now, I would not be doing this podcast. We have a special guest today. It's one of the newest members of the North Bay Battalion. He was up a weekend or two ago and committed to the team shortly thereafter. And it's Anthony Romani. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me on the Frontline today.
Thank you so much for having you. Very excited.
I know this goes without saying. I'm sure when you were up here, you got all of it. But yeah, welcome to North Bay. We're really excited to have you, and can't wait to see you on the ice. Hopefully, come October 7th.
Yeah, for sure. Really excited to just get started and be down in North Bay.
So let's kick this off. We'll start back to when your name first kind of got on the periphery of the seventh man and whatnot, and that was the day of the OHL draft. Take us through all the emotions, when you're being drafted and North Bay is calling you and saying, "Hey, we're going to take you."
Yeah, I was very excited when North Bay drafted me. It was at the top of my list for teams I wanted to go to, and when I got the call from Adam, I was super excited and pumped to get down to North Bay and just be a North Bay Battalion.
So we've heard from Adam and John Winstanley and a bunch of them that they conducted a whole bunch of interviews going into the draft. When was the first time that they reached out to you before the draft? Like, when did you first start to kind of consider North Bay as a possibility?
I've known John for quite a while, so he's talked to me and said that he really liked me and was thinking about taking me. And then later on, I had an interview with them, and the interview just went amazing. It was by far, I think, the best interview I had out of every team, and just seeing the interview was just really wanting me to go down to North Bay, and I was really excited when I got drafted by them.
Yeah, so you mentioned it there. You've known John for a little while. He came on and talked about how he had you and Sima on. He called you guys up a couple of times to the junior Canadians, his level. What was that like playing for? We kind of have a sense of John Winstanley, the assistant general manager. What was John Winstanley, the head coach, kind of like?
Yeah, he was pretty strict. Likes to stay with the systems, and I really just had to listen to him. But he really helped guide me during the games, and he was a really good coach, as you can see out of all his titles and championships he's won.
Was there any kind of intimidation factor when you walk into a room with him because of that stuff?
I wouldn't say towards me. When I talked to him personally, I wasn't intimidated, but sometimes him talking to the team and his team and just getting a little mad, but if they're playing bad. But besides that, he was really good for me.
So we mentioned you end up getting picked by North Bay. Adam gives you the call. Lots of thoughts are going through your head, I'm sure at the time, but were you with family that day? Or what was their reaction? What was mom and dad's reaction when you told them, "Hey, the Battalion are picking me"?
Yeah, they were all beside me, and they see my phone ring, and they all got excited. And I told them North Bay's picking me, and they were all just super excited. And they also always wanted me to go to North Bay, and they really liked the interview as they were a part of that one.
So when you're going through the interview and you start to kind of realize, North Bay is kind of a place I want to go, what are some of the things that these guys are selling you on, that gets you to that point of excitement, that gets you to that point of wanting to come up here?
Yeah, well, during the interview, they just did everything. They gave me a tour of the city, the facilities, and just asked me a bunch of questions. And I think the most impressive part was they pulled up some of my game stats. It was called Instat, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And it was literally all my face-offs and just every stat possible there was, and they could just click on a button and I would see everything. I was like, these guys are doing their research, and it was just it was really amazing to see that.
So after you find out they're doing their research of you and you get off the phone with them, of course, I'm sure other teams are calling you and interviewing you too at the time, but did you start to kind of do your own research on North Bay?
Yeah, for sure. I just looked at their history and just everything about them. So yeah, it was just my top option for sure.
So you get up here finally, about a month post draft, and you get to actually all the stuff you saw virtually from your interview, you know, the facility and the city, you kind of get to take in with your own two eyes in person. Now, what was your impressions of North Bay as a town and as Memorial Gardens as a facility?
Yeah, it was just as good as the interview, maybe even better. Uh, it was really good. The facilities are amazing, and just the environment seems so like family based, and just everything about it was good. The town was good, the food was good. Just had a great time up there.
We up here in North Bay, we definitely like our restaurants. So I always have to ask you, did you have any restaurant experiences that just kind of stood out in your mind or places that you went that you really enjoyed?
Um, so they took me out to, I think it was called Sloppy Joe's, or I think, or
Average Joe's?
Average Joe's. I mean, yeah, that one. And yeah, that was really good. Um, that was probably the one that I had enjoyed the food the most there. But besides that, I didn't get to eat too much. But when we were doing the drive-by interview down the town, Adam was just pointing out like tons of food places to go to, and it was just really nice to see all the food options I can have when I get down there.
When or the end of August comes and you're getting ready for training camp and stuff, what are some of the things that, you know, kind of maybe you think you're gonna really enjoy about being in the community and actually living here as opposed to just coming up for a visit?
I think I'll just really enjoy just being around the team and just the North Bay community and how it's just so family based, as I said before. And I'm just really excited to get on the ice with them.
So of course, you know, you mentioned you're excited to get on the ice and put on the green and white here. How tough is it to count down till training camp at this point?
Yeah, it's around 2 months away, so I've just been training a lot and just doing everything I can so that I'm ready for training camp and really excited to get started.
All right, so give us an overview. What's Anthony Romani the player? What can we expect from Anthony Romani the player once you're on the ice?
Um, I, I'm a hardworking player. I just try to do whatever it takes for the team to win. I'd say that my strengths would be in the offensive zone, and yeah, I'll just do whatever it takes to win and just a team player.
Have they given you an option for a number yet, or have you thought too much about it yet?
Well, I've been my whole life is number 15, and I was looking down the roster. I didn't see any 15, so I they asked me about it, and so hopefully I can get 15.
Well, if we don't see Romani in a 15, you know, on September or on October 7th, we might have to have some strong words with a few people out there. We don't want to paint too big of an X on your back though right away. Um, I gotta ask though, so it's interesting because you're part of the craziest draft class of all time because you guys didn't really get out much. You know, you didn't get out as much as you would have and stuff. How did that affect not playing as much? How did that affect your game kind of over the past year?
I'd say it was really hard just being on the ice one day and then the next day we're in lockdown and we can't be on the ice and just doing that back and forth and just not getting the normal skills and trainings that we usually do. And then also just the exposure for the draft as we didn't have much, just like a few skates and stuff. So I think it's affected like everyone in Ontario a bit, but there's no excuses and you just gotta catch up and be ready for when the season starts.
When the season starts, the schedule's out, of course. Tom and I touched on that a bit the last episode, and there's a outside of the Sioux, there's no Western Conference teams, and a lot of people, you know, when they think of the OHL, they think of the London Knights, the Kitchener Rangers type of thing. You as a rookie, of course, will not be playing in either of those barns unless you guys make the finals and one of London or Kitchener make the finals. How do you think it's gonna? I know you have so much that you're gonna have to look forward to because it is your first time playing in the league. But has that thought crossed your mind? It's going to be weird not playing against some of those guys.
I yeah, well, I kind of had an idea that the conference might be changed this year just because of COVID and stuff. But yeah, for sure, like it's always cool to play in those arenas with a London Knight arena. But I don't think it'd be too much different. Just need to play my game. I'm just excited to play.
Well, you're going to be facing off against Sudbury quite a bit, and I'm not sure if you've realized, but that's quite the rivalry. So, I'm sure you've played in rivalry games your whole entire life. You know, even if it's just against your buddies in the playground, you know, and you want to beat his team when you're out playing Timbits hockey later on or something when you're really young or something. Um, what are you kind of expecting? I know you haven't stepped foot on the ice against Sudbury yet, but what are you kind of expecting out of those rivalry games like that?
So I I don't really know, to be honest, but I have been listening to the podcast and I've heard they're pretty crazy. So I'm very excited to play in those games, and I just love those rivalry games where there's like big tensions and just everything's going. It's just gonna be really fun.
Well, when we pull some of the current players, a lot of them say that Sudbury and Peterborough are their least favorite places to play because the arenas, they just, I'll be blunt, they say they suck. I wouldn't know. I've only been to Sudbury. I haven't been to Peterborough, and I haven't played on the ice in either places. So, um, well, Anthony, we're really looking forward to getting you here and getting you on the ice. So I asked one of these questions previous to Owen Outwater, and I got to ask, you have so much, you know, hurdles to still get to before you get to this point. Have you thought of your first celebration, what that's going to look like?
I haven't really thought about that. I think it's really just gonna depend on the moment and like the type of goal. Like if it's a big goal, maybe a bigger celly, but if it's like a 4-0 goal, it's not gonna be as big. So we'll see.
Are you a big Selly guy yourself?
Um, I don't really celly that much unless it's a big goal. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a big celly guy, but I still do sometimes.
Have you ever had in those moments where you have decided to go for a big Selly? Have you ever done anything like absolutely crazy?
No, I wouldn't say nothing too crazy. Just like a classic one knee or something. Yeah, something along those lines.
Well, everybody likes the classic one knee. So coming to the team though, we asked this of Owen as well. I know that there's a bit of a gap between you and what would be the last rookie class that we actually saw on the ice here with the Arnsbys and the Twins and whatnot. Are you familiar with any of the guys on the team? Did you know them before you were picked, type of thing?
Yeah, so I think North Bay would was the most like people that I know on the team. Like I knew Tanias, Ty Nelson, Dom. I knew just been on the ice with Arnsby before. I just know like quite a few people in the North Bay team. So it was really good when I got drafted too, because it just really just seemed like a comfort place to be.
When you were drafted, when your name, you know, pops up and everybody knows the pick is in and it's Anthony Romani, any of them reach out and congratulate you?
Yeah, a bunch of them reached out, got a few phone calls too, and yeah, it was just really great to see like how much of a family the team was and how supportive they are.
We got to ask. So we touched on Adam a little bit. What's your initial thoughts? And you can be truthful. I mean, we'll never tell him, or maybe we will. Maybe we'll just completely sewer you and be like, "This is what Anthony Romani thinks of you." But what are your thoughts on Coach Ryan Houlihan?
Yeah, he was a great guy. I didn't know him too well before I went down to North Bay, but when I went down there, I was with him all day, and he's just a great guy. We have a lot of things in common, and it was just really fun time with him there.
Did they give you kind of an idea of? I know coming in, it's going to be a fight for roster spots, of course, which is a good thing to have. We haven't had those kind of fights in recent years of the battalion, but have they kind of given you an idea of what role they see you taking on in your first season?
No, they haven't really said that yet. I think that's really gonna come down to training camp and how I perform there and how I prepare for that. So we'll just see from there.
They what did they say about how they liked your game? What are the things about your game that they really like?
I think they like my offensive ability of my game, and yeah, I don't think they didn't touch too much on that. It was more just about North Bay and the city and just about how they treat their players and that along those lines. But haven't got into too much personal stuff. I'm sure we will down the road.
Now, of course, some teams don't necessarily like some players' hobbies. You know, I remember a couple of years ago the Fortnites were being, you know, you weren't allowed to play Fortnite on the road type of thing. But what are some of the things that you like to get into when you're off the ice? What are the things that kind of your hobbies that you like to or that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so I'd say I'm an athletic guy, so I just like playing sports and just doing things with my friends like basketball or stuff. But I'd say the thing I do the most in the off season would definitely be golf. I'm a big golfer, really like playing golf, so I usually play golf quite a bit in the off season.
I was out golfing yesterday. I bought new clubs a week ago. Turns out they don't help my game at all. I'm still pretty bad. So I'm down to a whole 2 balls left in my bag. How would you say you are when it comes to golf?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at golf. I wouldn't say that I'm like really good, but I'm decent.
So what you're not saying that you'd be looking for your PGA card if you weren't playing in the OHL?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely not PGA, that's for sure.
If you weren't if hockey wasn't working out so well to this point to you, what would be the other what would be so like is there another sport that you could see yourself playing outside of golf and hockey?
Um, Not really, to be honest. I don't really know. Like soccer, maybe. I played soccer when I was younger, so I really like playing soccer. But I just really just always loved hockey, and that's always been my passion. So I don't really wouldn't really know, to be honest.
Fair enough. Who's your favorite NHL team?
My favorite NHL team would be the Leafs.
Oh,
I'm also a Penguins fan, but that's because I've always loved Crosby. So yeah,
are you as done with the Leafs as I am right now?
yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in the Leafs. I'm sure everyone is, but still have hope for them.
I think it's starting to wane for me a little bit. I remember I had a big flag outside the house and they were up 3 games to 1 against the Habs, and I had it out there, and then when they lost, before they even lost game 7, they lost game 6. I just went outside, took the flag down. I was like, that's it, we're done. And so I was very upset. And then to see the Habs go on to the Stanley Cup final, that was just
Yeah,
killer, right?
it was
Come
like we
on.
were one game away from the finals, so
Yeah.
really
Of
hurt.
course, of course. I thought for sure, I was like, oh, the Leafs will get out of the North Division, but they'll probably lose to Vegas or Colorado or whoever they're going to play in the semis, and then well, they I don't think they would have done any better against Tampa Bay than Montreal did. So
Yeah, that's true. Tampa was a super team for sure.
yeah. Well, we got to give our shout out to our boy Barclay Goodrow, back to back champs though. So
Yeah,
well, Anthony, I really appreciate you taking the time today to join me on the Frontline podcast. It's always great talking to players in general, but it's always even better when I get to stand on the same footing of not playing any OHL games with the guy as of right now. But that will be changing, of course, come October. So thanks again. We look forward to watching your career here in North Bay.
thank you very much for having me, and very excited to get going with North Bay.
And it's another episode of the Frontline podcast. I'm Courtney Kenny, not joined by Tom Parisi. He will be back. I keep saying that. I said that in the last episode, and he's still not back. So maybe we need to send out a search party for him. Who knows? I'm pleased to be joined by, well, let's just count it out here. We had Owen Outwater, who was drafted 11th overall. We had Anthony Romani on, who was drafted 41st overall. Now we're hitting number 27th overall, Nic Sima, who just signed with the North Bay Battalion this week. Nick, welcome to the program.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure, you were just up visiting the troops, and I'm sure I said this to Anthony as well when we had him on. I'm sure you got all the welcomes to North Bay, but obviously we got to give you the official welcome to North Bay through the podcast, the Frontline here. So we're really excited to have you. So yeah, welcome to North Bay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll kick it off then by take us through your reaction when you were drafted 27th overall. What was going through your head?
So excited. That's the first thing, like hearing my name called by North Bay, such a great organization. And I was so happy to go there, and I couldn't be happier with the result. And I was just really excited to get started.
How I know that Adam works quickly here, Adam Dennis. So obviously he's calling you probably just before the pick's made. How soon before the pick was made did you have your phone ringing from Adam?
Honestly, I honestly forget. I think my room, like where we are, my home family was so loud that I think I didn't even realize he called. I think he called a couple times, and then I realized I was like, oh shoot, I missed a couple calls, and then I answered. So I ended up answering his phone call after the pick. He kept calling me. So I felt so bad. Everyone was going crazy, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Adam." But yeah, it was such a great time.
Would have been a bit awkward if he said, "Okay, well, the pick we sent it back then since you didn't answer your phone." So you got to react to it live, kind of thing. Then watching the feed, what was that experience like?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see the call, obviously, right? So I was kind of just sitting there, just watching the board, and here just getting my name called was surprising, but it was pretty crazy. Like obviously, expecting to get a call, but I didn't realize it. So it was pretty crazy, but I'm just so happy.
We've talked to a couple of guys now. We started this last year, so we had the 2020 draft class to go through. Now the 2021 draft class to go through, and it's I always enjoy asking this question. It's such a simple question, but you get a different reaction all the time. What's it like going through a draft year, and sitting on pins and needles, not really knowing where you're gonna go?
It's pretty nerve-wracking, and it's kind of, it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I just want this over and done with. But at the same time, I tried to enjoy the experience, especially with this year too. It was such an unorthodox year and everything being so unnormal, having all the Zoom calls and stuff. I just obviously tried to enjoy the experience. It sucks that we couldn't play a full season minor midget, but yeah.
So this is also another tough question to ask because you don't really know any better because you didn't have a normal draft year, whereas opposed to someone else who's had a normal draft year. So this is going to be a tough one to ask you. How weird was your draft year?
It was so weird. I mean, being so used to playing games in the season, right? And your most important season, the one that you train for, and it's your final, minor hockey season, and you want to get drafted and you want to put on a show, but the same time you can't, right? So
yeah,
I think for sure the interviews were really important for general managers and teams, and whenever we could get on the ice, maybe it was just a little practice or it was little inter squad game, something like that, you have to focus for it and you have to show up. So it was definitely really weird, but obviously just trying to enjoy it.
We've had Charles Abbott on, we've had John Winstanley on, we've had Adam Dennis on. And they all talked about the interview process, how back basically almost in January, they started contacting players and doing interviews. When do you remember when you were first contacted by the Battalion?
I think I was one of their first ones, Adam was saying. So I think it was around February, maybe. February, I think, is around that time. Yeah, it was one of my first ones as well.
So what's kind of asked in those interviews? Like how do you go about them? I mean, I've been through job interviews, but I've never been through an interview where my future could be on the line like this. And when it comes to your hockey playing,
well, I mean, the interviews is probably just mostly about like personality and who you are as a player and how would you describe yourself, and just getting to know each other, like me getting to know Adam and them, and Adam getting to know me. It's just those little questions, obviously very important questions to know about the player, but yeah, just you have fun with it. You have to be relaxed during interviews. You can't be too, uptight and nervous. And I think that's one of the things I got a lot better on as I did my interviews. I think at the start I was definitely really uptight and, rambling and stuttering, but as you get on, you get obviously the experience and you get a lot better throughout. So it was good.
If you could ballpark the number out of the 20 team OHL league, how many of them do you think contacted you?
I'd say 19, 18. So yeah.
Apparently you're quite the hot commodity, and hey, North Bay got you, so we're definitely more than thrilled to have you. So we'll take it. Of course, playing briefly for Mr. John Winstanley as well. What was that like? What was that experience like playing for Mr. Winstanley?
Oh, it was amazing. Like having him, like the games I would play up, it was just amazing. Like the way he ran the bench and his team, it was definitely really fun to be a part of. And some of the players on the team, like Ty, obviously, it was great to play with him. He's such a great leader and a guy you love to have on your team. Hate to play against him, but yeah, it was such a great time and it was amazing.
Well, on the bright side, you don't have to worry about playing against Ty.
Exactly. Exactly.
That must have been quite the relief then as well, on top of that.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta ask. So we had Ty Nelson on a year ago. Before we were even the front line, before we were affiliated with the Battalion, we had Ty on and just talking to him about what it was like to play for the Junior Canadians organization and how prestigious it was, and of course playing for the U16 team. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. My U16 year would have been my 4th year on the team. And, it's just amazing to play with a great minor hockey organization like that, especially some of the players, really special players we had on our teams throughout the years. And it was amazing playing with them. My coach, Dave Venizio, it was amazing playing for him. And I developed so much in my 4 years there, and I can't thank them enough. So
When it comes to being called up to play with, John Wynn Stanley's team and stuff, what's that process kind of like? Because of course, when we look at the Battalion, they have affiliate players. Either they're in Pembroke at the time, or they might be in Powassan in the future because of the affiliate. And so you kind of know who they're going to pull up. But when you're playing, and I know you're still kind of affiliated by being the lower tiered team, the younger level team. What's that kind of process like, where they call you up and they say, okay, we're pulling you up today?
Well, I think normally it would be maybe like two days before the game. Maybe a player's out with injury or someone's sick or something like that, and you'll get the call and be like, oh, you're playing up next, either for Johnny or your regular coach, like my 05 coach, and you get the call to be like, oh, you're playing in with the 04s, to be like, okay, cool, and you just try to have fun there. Obviously, it's definitely an experience. Because a couple first times playing up, it was definitely really, really nerve-wracking. Play with the older guys, wasn't used to it, but when you play up a lot, you get the experience obviously as well, playing with those older guys, and it's a great experience as well, playing with different players too. So it's good.
We hear a lot, and obviously it's not the same level, but you hear players in the media and stuff at the NHL level or AHL level that talk about the difference between playing in the AHL and playing in the NHL. What's the difference like? Going up the years like that.
It's just the speed, I think, the speed and the raw ability of the guys that are there. Like you see, it's a second faster. Everything you need to make quicker decisions. You need to be on that puck faster. I think that's the main thing. Just guys playing against guys that are bigger, faster, and stronger. Just like making that jump to the OHL too. It's gonna be the same thing. But I think that the speed of the game is the biggest difference.
So going back to the draft day and stuff, you go through the interview process with North Bay, and then you get the phone call you're being taken by North Bay. Just what's your reaction to it being the Battalion? You're heading up to I assume you're in the Toronto area, so moving 3.5 hours north, to play major junior hockey.
Honestly, it was amazing for me hearing my name called by the Battalion, having that interview with the Adam and those guys before the draft. It was just, they really stood out how much they cared about the team. And finally going up to North Bay last weekend, it was amazing. It was definitely more than what I expected. It was really beautiful, and it's just great meeting Ryan as well. It just, talking to them, you just know, and you could just tell how much they care about the team and how they want to win here and develop their players. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I didn't really care how high I went, but I just wanted to go to a great team and a great organization that cared for their players and wanted to develop me. So I just couldn't be happier with the Battalion.
Yeah, so let's talk about your trip up to North Bay, because I assume in your interview, I know that they told us a little bit of the trade secrets where they give away virtual tours of the facility and stuff, but your actual first time coming up and coming to Memorial Gardens, I mean, your picture on the website is signed. I know it's inside Memorial Gardens right there. So what was your reaction to Memorial Gardens with your own eyes and not through the lens of a camera?
It was great. I think the biggest thing for me is how new everything was. Like walking into the gym and players lounge and the dressing room, just everything was so new, and it was all great. Like it was really nice to see. So it was amazing seeing the rink. So, and the rink was kind of it's a vaccination center right yep. now, right? So we kind of just looked through one of the box seats or one of the seats over there and up top, and it was great seeing the rink. Like you always see through pictures, right? And you don't think it's that big, and then when you finally go and see it in person, it's like, wow, it's huge. So it was definitely a great experience.
I remember so before they did the renovations, it was a smaller ice surface in there. They had to get it up to NHL size. So I remember going in there because that's where they have a Remembrance Day ceremony as well as in the Gardens. And I remember going in, you could tell how much bigger the rink is because of all the boards that were brand new on the ice, because all the other ones were like aged and, you could see how old they were than the new boards. It was just, oh, so there is a big difference, type of thing.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to the Gateway of the North Bay as a city?
It was great, honestly. I loved walking around, touring the city. Adam and Ryan gave me a tour, just drove around. It's a beautiful city. That's what I have to say. There's so much stuff to do here. The beaches. We went to the boat for lunch, and it was so beautiful there, seeing Lake Nipissing and stuff like that, and just touring around. It was just great, and I'm so excited to go up there. So.
Yeah, I'll give away a bit of a trade secret. The boat's quite the great little experience for any who's listening to the podcast right now. That's one of my favorite spots, and whenever I end up going out for lunch with the guy affectionately known as Yogi, Nick Morin, who works for the team, whenever we go out for lunch, it's where you want to go, and we'll try and list off things, and then I guess we're going to the boat. So it's always the boat. So have they given you were you able to pick out a number yet?
Not yet. Because normally in a regular season, like I'd be number 21, but we have to wait and see for that number. So, do
you know the history of 21 in North Bay?
Well, obviously, Brandon, he wore it. So that's all I know from what. Yeah.
Well, he's playing for the Sens now, but Nick Paul was wearing that the first 2 years that we had him.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that there's expectations.
Big expectations there. Yeah.
But if you're not scoring the gold medal game at the World Champions, So tell us a bit about yourself as a hockey player. We're getting to know you as a person. What do you bring to the ice?
I think I'm a two-way power forward with a lot of speed and skill as well. I think I play a great physical game. I like to throw hits, take hits to make the play as well, and I'm not afraid to get in the corners and those dirty areas. And I really rely on my speed as well to beat guys. And so.
I noticed that when on the Battalion website where they list the draft, you're listed as a right winger. And I always wanted to ask this question about guys who play the wing because you see it as such a big to-do, especially if you're a fan of the Leafs, unfortunately, where the market is just crazy there. And they always talk about people playing out of position. Is it a big to-do for you that if you had to go and play on your off wing?
No, not really, because I even played last year and the year before that. I played center as well. Like we kind of just mix and match the lines, right? We didn't have set lines on my JRC team, and I played all the positions, right wing, left wing, and center. So I'm comfortable in all those three.
What are, maybe to the outsider who might not know as much, or somebody who just watches hockey but doesn't maybe get the X's and O's, what kind of added pressure or added responsibilities do you get by playing center as opposed to the wings?
I think the biggest thing is the defensive responsibility. Like as a wing, you're obviously really important in the defensive zone, but being that center, you have to get down there and with the defenseman and obviously supporting your wingers on the breakouts as well in the defensive zone. And you're kind of that defensive forward as well. So you have to be reliable both on the offensive and defensive zone. So
how tough is that? Because a lot of younger guys are looking for the points. They want to see the goals and the assists next to their name, and the point totals. How tough is that to, be defensively conscious like that?
Well, I think it's all in the mindset. If you're worried about scoring goals and getting assists and getting points, then you're obviously not going to focus on the defensive end. But if you rely on the defensive end, there's a saying, good defense leads to good offense, right? So if you play good defense, then you're obviously going to get the offensive chances. And obviously, if you want to be offensive and score all those points and you can't play defense, you're going to be stuck in your end, your whole shift. So you can't get any chances on offense. So I think it's definitely a mindset.
With that knowledge, who's somebody at the NHL level that you look up to?
I think my biggest guy right now is Josh Anderson.
Okay.
Seeing him play in the finals, like, and how great he's been doing throughout the playoffs and the regular season, I think he's a really fun guy to watch, and I really try to emulate my game after him. That big power forward that you could rely out there in the defensive zone and to get you points as well. So,
yeah. So are you a Habs fan?
No.
Okay, cool. We can continue the conversation. Unfortunately, I'm a suffering Leafs fan, but my second team, because I have family in Columbus, so I like the Blue Jackets a lot. So I'm very upset that they just kind of traded Anderson. I mean, Max Domi's a good consolation prize, but he didn't play that well this year. So I'm kind of upset by the Josh Anderson deal. So, okay, in that sense then, and there's only one right answer to this. Who's your favorite NHL team?
The Leafs. For me.
Okay, good. Yeah. Good. We're going to get along famously. I can't wait for you to get up to North Bay now. Yeah. And so I talked a little bit about this with Romani, and it is the Battalion podcast, but how disappointed were you in the Leafs this year?
Definitely really disappointed seeing them play in the regular season, just being up 3-1 as well, not being able to close it out, But but it's definitely disappointing. But we're kind of used to it at this point now.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how many times are you gonna hurt me, and how many times am I gonna go back? You know, I had this big flag that I put out. My stepdad's a big Habs fan, so 3-1. I was like, oh, here we go. It's happening. It's gonna be great. And so I went out and put a flag outside, a big Leafs flag, and then they lost Game 6 in overtime, and I just took the flag down. I was like, I know exactly what's gonna happen in Game 7. I know exactly where this is going. I can't do it anymore. So it's yeah. That basically sums up my life as a Leafs fan. I also kind of touched on this a little bit with Romani a bit. If there's another sport that, if say hockey wasn't your thing or it didn't work out or whatever, is there another sport you could see yourself playing?
Yeah, I think for me, basketball.
Okay.
Growing up, I think basketball and hockey were my two sports. I obviously didn't play basketball like recreational, I just kind of played in the park or whatever, but
Okay.
at recess. But I think that's my second best sport for sure.
I've never, so growing up, I was never a huge really basketball fan. I was definitely a bandwagon hopper when the Raptors were doing their championship run. But I've never really asked kind of that generation that's grown up only really knowing good Raptors teams. When I grew up, it was Vince Carter was leaving and Chris Bosh was leaving and stuff. What's your, impression or take on the team, where it is, you've only really known them as a good team?
Yeah, exactly. I think I started watching basketball maybe 5-6 years ago, and I think they've always been good. For me, I'm not a guy that will watch sort of like basketball every night. I just kind of watch Raptors games, or I'll watch the finals. When I watch the Raptors, I kind of just watch the playoffs, and especially I obviously look at stats and stuff like that. But it was definitely special what they could do with that year Kawhi was here, and it was definitely great for the city as well. So.
Do you remember where you were when they won Game 6?
I think I was at a friend's house. Yeah, I was actually at a friend's house. But I remember I was sitting at home with my family when he hit the shot against Philadelphia. I went crazy. So it was a great experience. But yeah.
I had gone to a movie the night that he hit the shot, and I came home and turned on the game, and it was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I just turned it on because I'm the same. I'm just kind of I'll watch in the playoffs, if they're on a run type of thing. And I turned it on and I remember my friend was with me and they're like, why are you watching? Why did you turn this on? I was like, it's Game 7 and there could be the end of the Kawhi era real quickly here. And then he hits the shot and I was like, well, that's why I turned it on right there. I knew that was going to happen. Well, I got to say, we're really excited to get you up here to North Bay. Hopefully, sooner rather than later. Of course, the September 4th training camp date tentatively. What's your thoughts? How nervous or excited are you for that to get that underway?
I think obviously biggest thing, I'm really excited to get started with the team and finally get to training camp. But obviously there's some nerves that go into it. Your first OHL camp is definitely pretty big, but I'm just gonna try to enjoy it. So I'm really excited.
One thing that we have this year that we never got last year was a schedule. And have you looked over the schedule? Have you looked at, how many times you're going to be playing Sudbury? It's going to be a big rivalry game and stuff like that. Have you looked at the schedule very hard?
Yeah, I did actually. I wrote down on a piece of paper how many times we play each team. So I definitely looked at it. So, yeah. Well,
we're definitely excited to see you in that rivalry. And I got to thank you for your time here today, Nick. It's been great getting to know you a little bit. And, I know I speak for most of the seventh man when I say we're excited to see you in action here in the green and white, hopefully in October when things get going here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, anytime. I'm sure we'll have you on many more times as your OHL career unfolds here.
Yes.
Alrighty, huge thank you to Nic Sima there, who was drafted in the second round, 27th overall by your North Bay Battalion. Really excited to see, the three guys that have committed to the team so far, Owen Outwater, Sima, and Anthony Romani, whom you can check out the other two episodes between Outwater and Romani here right on the front line because we've talked to them already and we're going to talk to them again. That's just how it is. One thing I didn't mention in the last episode when I talked about Ty Nelson and Dom DeVincentis going off to Hockey Canada camp, trainer, Andrew Sachev, he's going off as well. So big congrats to you, Sach. It'll be good to see some of these guys in action before September. But again, we're counting down the days, as of recording this right now, it's July 15th. And, summer still got a lot of summer left, but it feels like summer is flying by, especially now that we can start doing things as of, midnight tonight. By the time this recording comes out, that's old news. We'll be into the third stage in Ontario here. And, keep on. And for the time being, if you want to see Memorial Gardens, of course, go and get your vaccination. You can get in there, and it's quite impressive what they're doing in there. So I won't take up any more of your time. Hopefully the next episode we'll have Tom back, who's a lot better at doing this than I am. I like to ask questions. Tom, he has the experience of being an actual host, considering that's what he did for a living for Rogers Radio for a few years there. So I will start off by saying a huge thank you to Ben Sargent, our wonderful producer who makes us sound as good as we do. Without him, we would just sound like a bunch of, bumbling buffoons, basically, which is what I'm sounding like right now. But anyways, also huge thanks. We don't give him enough credit. We got to give a shout out to Ryan Griffin, who does all the little videos that you see when we get posted on the Battalion social media. He's really fantastic at what he does and editing all that stuff together. So really appreciate that, Ryan. And of course, I got to thank my buddy, Nick, who just kind of puts up with me and tells me who we're getting on a week-to-week basis, and we work together on trying to figure out great guests for you, the listener, to have listened to. And I'm sure I've made him want to pull out his hair on more than one occasion. So that'll do it for this one. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Your TV North Bay. As Tom likes to say, this has been fun. Let's do it again sometime.